We're now joined by Connecticut's Attorney General and candidate for U.S. Senate, Richard Blumenthal. Attorney General, thank you very much for the time.
Thank you.
You're going to be, are you ready for a title change here? It's been almost 20 years since you've been AG in Connecticut.
Believe it or not, 20 years. My children sometimes joked with me that I was going to be the eternal general, but I'm very excited. And it's a job that has always been a public service goal and dream of mine. And I love the job I have now because it enables me to use the law to fight for people and make a difference in their lives. And I hope to do very much the same kind of service as a United States Senator if I'm fortunate enough to be elected.
We've spoken before over the times, and in preparation for this interview, I talked to a lot of people who've worked with you, and they all describe it the same way. He doesn't shy away from a fight. In fact, sometimes he relishes it. He's ambitious, not as a bad thing. So to that end, usually somebody who's AG, especially with your bona fides, you would have run for a higher office before now. You were rumored to run for governor on more than one occasion. There was even a federal judgeship that your name had come up for, and from what I understand, it was yours if you wanted it. Why now and why not before?
There's a very simple answer. First and foremost, I love this job. It enables me to make a difference in people's lives in a very visible and tangible way, which is very unusual for any job, particularly in public service, to see the effects for the better on people's lives. And for 20 years, it has been intellectually challenging, very fulfilling. And so I haven't been restless or bored. Second, I have a young family, 4 children. I have really put them first. And finally, we've had 2 United States senators that have been very dedicated and long-standing, and so there hasn't been this opportunity. Now there is, and I hope that the people of Connecticut will select me for this tremendous honor and very challenging opportunity to serve them.
For the people who don't know you well, how would you describe yourself? Because obviously you've been a fierce prosecutor. Would you say progressive is an apt description of you politically?
I'm certainly a progressive on social issues. I'm pro-choice, have been since I was a law clerk to Justice Harry Blackmun on the United States Supreme Court shortly after the Roe v. Wade decision. And I've advocated statutes that defend and protect a woman's right to choose. We've taken stands in my office as well to protect the clinics that offer reproductive health services, standing with the federal government. I would say progressive on many of those social issues, but at the same time on fiscal issues, I'm actually pretty conservative. I'm very tight with a dollar or a penny, and in my time in the state legislature, I voted in favor of measures that were fiscally prudent, and I'm very concerned, deeply troubled by the deficit that we have right now in our country, and we need to address that problem. But first and foremost, let me just say, jobs and the economy are on my mind. Jobs and the economy, obviously healthcare, education, and our veterans, because I have a stake personally, and I've met countless veterans who simply have not been as well served by the system as we have a commitment to give them.
And troubling new numbers on the suicide rate, especially for some of the young veterans coming back. Let's talk a little bit about the man you would replace and also one that you may serve with. You've seen what's happened to Senator Dodd. A lot of people close to him say it's really unfair he's going out this way. Others saying, look at his popularity ratings within the state. How do you regard Senator Dodd's record right now, and do you understand some of the frustration of fellow Connecticut residents as they look at Senator Dodd on the way out?
I supported Senator Dodd until the moment that he made his decision. It was his decision that he would not be a candidate for re-election. And I supported him because of his record on the Family and Medical Leave Act, which was a pioneering measure to provide more support for families and children, his role on tobacco regulation, which for the first time subjected cigarettes to FDA oversight, his role on health care, on many, many other issues, Latin America, and a myriad of Connecticut benefits to our citizens. And he was a very conscientious and really committed public servant who deserves our admiration and respect and gratitude. He certainly has mine. He withdrew with great grace and dignity and courage.
Did he ask you to get in?
No.
No.
I never discussed with Senator Dodd even the possibility of his withdrawing. I never wanted to be part of that conversation. I wanted to support him loyally to the end. He's been a good friend of mine for 35 years.
In some critics on the Republican side, as you've already seen, have said that you were a Dodd protege, and they even say that you looked the other way when you got in trouble with Countrywide Financial.
Well, the fact is, I sued Countrywide. I have no jurisdiction over Senator Dodd's dealings with Countrywide, no authority whatsoever, but I do have authority over abusive and predatory lending policies and practices. And that is the reason that I helped to lead other attorneys general in taking legal action against Countrywide to recover hundreds of millions of dollars for victims of those predatory loan practices. Believe me, I'm no friend of Countrywide. I want to be a friend of businesses who abide by the law, and I have been, and I've supported small businesses, for example, in seeking lower utility rates, which is a major cost to doing business. But the fact is, I am nobody's rubber stamp, and I will be nobody's rubber stamp. People can criticize me for decisions I've made in public life. No one's perfect, but nobody can criticize my independence and the stands I've taken against excessive bonuses, against insurance abuses, against pharmaceutical drug companies, against Countrywide, I think show that I'm going to be independent.
Fair enough. The other senator in Connecticut, Senator Lieberman, among Democrats in Connecticut, some call him Democrat in name only, some call him things I can't say on television. To say is a complicated relationship, putting it very politely. I know you supported him in the primary, but once Ned Lamont won your party's nomination, you supported him in the general. Would you want Senator Lieberman's endorsement if he offered it to you from between now and November?
I will seek support from every resident, every voter in Connecticut, whether it's Senator Lieberman or Senator Dodd or any Republicans who would like to offer it. And I want to say about party affiliation, you know, I often say there's no Republican or Democratic way to pick up the garbage. Most of these issues, most of the tasks that we face in public life are truly bipartisan. There's no monopoly on wisdom on either side of the aisle. And
you see, though, from a distance, like all of us, it's a foreign concept in D.C. right now.
I'm troubled by the excessive partisanship, and I'm troubled by the diminishing civility, the vitriolic vein in public discourse. It's not my style, as you may have gathered. And I hope that I can be a force for changing it. No one can do it alone, but I hope to have an impact on changing the nature of public debate, making it less party-centered, more issue-driven, which has always been my style.
Finally, it is a political climate that's going to be, even the party acknowledges, difficult for Democrats come this November, although I haven't spoken to a person, so-called expert within Connecticut, who doesn't think that you're the prohibitive favorite. That said, what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge for Democrats, whether for re-election or yourself running for the first time, that they're going to have to keep answering between now and then? You mentioned jobs. What else do you think you're going to have to convince Connecticut residents that you get it?
Well, good question. First, I want to tell you, I take nothing for granted. I take no one for granted. Connecticut is going to be a tough, competitive race for the United States Senate. The polls right now are a snapshot in time, but the only poll that matters, as they say, is the one on Election Day. And I will be in no way complacent. I'm going to begin a conversation.
You sound like that coach, by the way, who's favored by 2 touchdowns. So we're not looking past this weekend's opponent. I get it. But there must be a question, Republican or Democrat, I'll appeal to your bipartisanship, that you're going to keep hearing, whether it's from Groton to Hartford to Greenwich, wherever, that they're going to say, this is what I'm worried about. What are you going to do about X? What is X?
I think X right now is the economy. It is and should be on our minds, a priority. Reviving our economy, creating new jobs, which means helping small business, who are the engine of economic recovery. The devil may be in the details, but the overall priority is more jobs, a better economy, better education, which is key to educated workers, and of course healthcare, and the need, I think, also to make sure that transportation works better.
Well, you got a heck of a year ahead of you, and I appreciate you making a few minutes for us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.